Welcome beyond the Reiki Gateway. I'm your host, Andrea Kennedy. Like countless others, Reiki found me when I wasn't even looking, and then it ignited a whole new world of questions. This podcast explores topics of interest for the spiritually curious. Join me for discussions and special guests on subjects such as past lives, crystal healing, spiritual awakening, ascension, energy healing, and more, all to assist and inspire you along your unique soul's journey. This episode is sponsored by Mainstream Reiki, offering live and online Reiki classes and a membership community to help Reiki practitioners succeed and grow in their practice. Find out more at mainstreamreiki.com. Hello and welcome to Beyond the Reiki Gateway. I'm your host, Andrea Kennedy. I'm delighted that you chose to tune into the show where we're going to do something a little bit different. I've got two guests beyond the Reiki Gateway this time around, and you probably have not heard of these two amazing women yet. And let me tell you why that might be. They have recently, in their own way, come out of the Reiki closet. How about that? And so I'm going to introduce you to Tammy Castro and Michele Yorke, and we're going to get into who they are, their journeys to this point, what their challenges were in coming out and making themselves known and available as Reiki practitioners. We're going to get into a lot of that, and we're going to see where our conversation leads. We're just going to have a really nice, friendly conversation, and I'm really super excited that they're here. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, Andrea, thank you for having us. Michele, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's go ahead then and dive in. And I could go down the list of all of your trainings and all of that. And I want you to bring that up as we do talk through the show. But wow, I am so impressed with all the different trainings that you've had. And, coming out of the Reiki closet, so to speak, more recently, I have a lot of questions about that, given all the training that you have. I want to start in with Tammy. Where is it that you live? And if you can just tell us briefly a little about yourself.
I live in a small conservative community in North Carolina. I'm a volunteer firefighter, Reiki practitioner. I also do sound healing within my Reiki practice, and I also do Archangel Light, energy healing.
Oh, I'm not really that familiar with that. That does sound really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And a conservative community in North Carolina.
Yes.
So I could imagine perhaps there are some challenges there bringing these kinds of modalities there. Is that correct?
There is a lot of challenges here. My community is Christian based. Everybody knows everybody. It's a very small town. We have a couple of traffic lights. But it's actually hard to get yourself out in such a small community where everybody knows everybody and they're used to their own way of doing things, their own way of life. So bringing in a modality such as Reiki sometimes comes with its own connotations of, well, that's strange, that's weird, is that woo-woo or things like that. So it's kind of hard to get yourself out there and get started.
Right. Yeah. And how long ago did you get started, Tammy? Like, when did you take your first, we'll say, woo-woo class?
Actually, I was going to a Reiki practitioner and she said to me, you really should go learn Reiki. And I thought, okay, great. So I was going to go to her teacher and then the pandemic hit. So I thought, what do I do now? Because her classes were all canceled because of the pandemic. So I waited a few months and she contacted me and said, hey, I'm going to start doing them online via Zoom if you'd like to join us. And that's how I got started. So that was in June of 2020.
June of 2020, at a time when we really needed Reiki.
Yes.
And we, it was a wonderful time to continue to learn. So, okay, 2020. Okay, fantastic. And it was a Reiki class. That was your first spiritual type class?
Yeah, it sure was. A bit before that, I hadn't done really anything spiritual. The Where I was taking, or excuse me, going for my Reiki treatments was in a crystal store. And I had never even actually been in a crystal store before that. But they actually held some individual classes. You know, there was a medium there, so she would hold classes, once a month and things like that. Uh, there was also somebody that did Akashic Records. Then she would hold classes too. So I actually did go to a couple of those classes, which were about an hour long, before I actually went to my first Reiki class, just to kind of get a feel for, what was in this community, if you will.
Right. And now you said you lived in a very conservative area. So that crystal shop sounds pretty progressive and open. How far was that from where you live?
About 55 miles from me. So I had to drive about an hour to get there each way. Yes.
Oh,
hmm
right.
hmm
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
hmm
Yeah. Okay. And so I want to shift gears. Let's do a little comparison. So, Michelle, I would love to have your input about where you are and, what was your first class? When was that?
Okay, so I'm in Southern California, um, and we're kind of in a rural area. And I would say my first class was also during the shutdown, the lockdown. But I actually was introduced to spirituality about 25 years ago when my kids were little. I have three daughters. Um, and when they were little, I had a good friend invite me to a spirituality class. And I have to go back and say that I was raised without religion in my life. But my husband, who came from a very conservative Christian, very opinionated, if you're not with us, you're against us, kind of, we are the only ones, which he left that. And that's how we became together. I mean, I was kind of a clean slate. Let's just say that I had a lot of family that were Catholic or Christian but we were kind of the family that didn't do any of that. So when my husband and I met, I feel like for him and I, it was nice because I didn't have any programming. So whatever he had, I just didn't ask many questions because I knew it's kind of a no-go place. It was definitely off limits. Like he was a little protective about it. He didn't want us talking badly about it, but he definitely didn't subscribe to it. But he was also protective. It was still his family and he grew up in that, but it was isolating. They didn't celebrate holidays. Birthdays, women didn't wear makeup. Like it was, and this was even in our community, it was like, I had no idea that even existed. Honestly, I kind of stay away from it, but I knew, I was kind of neutral in it. So my husband and I were able to coexist together. So anyway, sorry, going back to being invited to spirituality, which definitely had like a Buddhist, it was all meditation. It was alternative to what was normal, what people would go to religion. So I started out with meditations, weekly groups, and it was a wonderful group and I loved it. And it was so different. It felt like going home to your grandmother's every week. You met with like-minded friends. We talked about topics I had never explored. And during these meditations, I started opening my eyes and seeing people's auras, like across the room. It was like, oh, what is this? And I remember coming home and kind of telling him about it, but it was maybe a little off-putting to him. I don't think he was ready for it. It was definitely like, oh, what is that? And I felt that. And I felt like, okay, maybe we're not ready for this. I kind of put a little pin in it because we were great. We had two kids at this point and we lived a great life. And I could just tell it was uncomfortable for him. He wasn't ready for it. And I was perfectly fine in my life. And I'm like, okay. And I was a little afraid of it, to be completely honest. It felt powerful. It felt like something was coming through me. And I felt like I was young. I was in my 20s. And, like I said, I was enjoying being a mom and a wife. And I was like, I don't know about this. And I would say growing up, I definitely had contacts with different, my dreams were outrageous. I would just say that, like, visitations and different things, and even psychic hits and waking up in the middle of the night and having a hamster that had been on the loose for 2 weeks. And I knew exactly where it was. And I told my family it's climbing up the curtains. And there it was. from my bedroom. I knew, so I feel like I was already experiencing maybe, the mystical things that could happen, but I was afraid of it because I had no guidance. I had nobody really reeling it back in. So that class, I still went to the class, the spirituality class, but I didn't really maybe go all in. I felt like I was holding back a part of myself. And I wasn't sure that me and my family were ready for that. So I put a pin in it and I just got on with my life and still meditated. I mean, daily meditation practice was definitely my thing. And that was my solace. That's where I would go. And my husband and I definitely were on a journey together, still, enjoying our life. But we both felt like at different times we were needing more, but we didn't quite know what that was. It wasn't like I even questioned, should we go to church together? I was knowing that we needed something, but I feel like that was kind of like, again, just not maybe in alignment. Like it wasn't like he was going to go back to that.
I want to get into what changed there in a moment, but I want
Mm-hmm.
to switch over to Tammy and just touch in with you because Michele is talking about the family. Whereas when we talked to you a moment ago, it was more about where you lived, being that, having that sort of challenge with this. And what about family, Tammy? Was your family open to this, or can you share about that?
Well, like Michelle, I had experienced this as a child too. And I grew up in a house that had activity, we'll say that. But my parents always dismissed it. It wasn't there, it wasn't real, things like that. So, but I did have the psychic part growing up and even throughout college and things like that. And, even just areas throughout my life, raising my family. But I, like Michelle too, kind of put it on the back burner, taking care of the kid and running to soccer games and just doing life. You just don't always have time to pursue that avenue. Um, when Reiki came along, my husband was very accepting because he actually helped me find my first Reiki practitioner. And when I came home and I said, "Oh, I'm an empath, I'm this," and I didn't even know what these things were. Actually, my Reiki practitioner told me. I had to go home and Google it because I didn't know what any of this stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband turned to me, and goes, "Oh, that explains everything." So now it just kind of came full circle, even for him. And he's like, "Okay, now I have something to explain this." But he was very open and accepting. My daughter was very open and accepting. However, my parents were not. And
Mm-hmm.
my husband's family, they're conservative Christians, and I was afraid to even open up to them. But yeah, it was difficult. And to this day, my father has since passed, but I did not tell him. I actually told him I was going to Reiki practitioner when I first started, and that got the proverbial eye roll, you're kind of crazy. I don't know what that is. You're weird type thing. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to pursue that any further. But as my father transitioned when he was passing away, I knew I could do the Reiki to help him along his journey at the end. And I did. So I knew that was accepted at that point, even though I knew before that it wouldn't have been accepted. To this day, the only person in my life that does not know is my mom. But I have come out to everyone else, people in my community, people at my firehouse, and things like that. So I think you have to have discernment sometimes, even though you want to come out to everybody. I think not everybody is going to be accepting, or they're not ready for it. So.
Oh, yeah. And you brought up the
Mm-hmm.
firehouse again. And I love this because a volunteer firefighter with Reiki, I could imagine, first responders really need this.
They do.
And you have firsthand
Yeah,
knowledge
well, that
about that.
actually was my first moment of coming out of the Reiki closet. So I was standing out front of the firehouse and there was a paramedic, and, paramedics, they see everything, and it's, they can have a long, hard day with a lot of different events that happen. They're not always good events. Nobody really calls the 911 for good things, maybe a baby, but she was having a tough time. And I knew her enough at the firehouse, and I kind of looked back at my husband. He was standing by the door and he's like, "Go ahead, tell her about Reiki. So I kind of just did some small talk. I said, "Have you ever heard about Reiki?" And she said, "Well, I've heard the word, but I don't know what it means." So I just gave her brief, just 2 to 3 minute brief rundown of what Reiki is. I said, "Would you trust me and allow me to do some Reiki on you?" And she said, "Sure." So I took her into the conference room. I sat her in the chair. I just did some chair Reiki on her for about 10 minutes. She went to sleep immediately. And when she woke up, she just looked at me kind of like she was drunk, and she had tears in her eyes. And I knew she had just released something that was just so heavy for her. And I don't even think that she knew exactly what that was at the moment, but I knew she felt better. And I said to her, um, I said, "I do Reiki out of my home." I said, "Would you like to come for a Reiki treatment?" I said, "About an hour long." And she said, "Yes." And so she came for about 5 sessions with me, and I saw her change over that course of about 2 months. She found, I told her to find activities that she liked, take some time for herself, do some self-care. And I think she forgot about her. She was so busy doing her job and taking care of others that she actually forgot about her. And I think I was just there to remind her to do that. And it was just a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I love that story for so many reasons. Number one, nobody even had to know what was
Mm.
going on with her, and Reiki just can take care of it. It's amazing. I love that she said yes in that moment. And I love that you talked to her and gave her that brief little snippet, that little explanation that you did, and that she followed through for herself. I just think that that's amazing. How encouraging is that as a Reiki practitioner who wants to help and wants to be out there more, for somebody to respond that way?
Yeah, it was wonderful because I think there's such a fear base with Reiki to come out that you're going to be judged in this way or the other, and you don't know if you're going to be accepted. And, she was very open and she was accepting and she trusted me. She knew who I was. We've been on, many, many fire calls together and incidents. So, she trusted me in that level, but I was asking her to trust me in a different way. And she did. And it was really wonderful.
I think another point that I want to underscore here, Tammy, is you are a volunteer firefighter, working shoulder to shoulder with these other people in, dangerous situations. You had a reputation. People knew you to be you and who they thought you were. So there's a risk and a gamble, wouldn't you say, to coming out? Because, like what you said, you don't know how people might take it. And that could completely shift, perhaps, how they think of you, for your job or for your, for trusting you in that sort of
Yeah,
way.
absolutely. Because I kept my private life separately. I never told people what I did. I came, we went on the calls, we cleaned up, we went home. That's just kind of how it was. I never opened up and gave people an insight to who I was and who I am. But doing that with the paramedic, it opened that door for me. And it was a very slow open door, but I would say to people, "Oh, I do Reiki. Do you know what Reiki is?" And it would just be, somebody just having a bad day. They had something to deal with, and I just happened to be there at the moment, just talking with them. And then I thought, okay, here's another opportunity. Let me let myself out. Let me tell them a little bit and see how it goes. And I've done on several firefighters and paramedics Reiki treatments, and it's been great. So it helped me come out to my community of who I am, other than a firefighter. You know, when
Right.
people used to, even up until very recently, what do you do? I'm a firefighter, because people could relate to that. If they don't know what Reiki is, they can't relate to it. But now I say, oh, I'm a Reiki
Right.
practitioner and firefighter. So I put Reiki first now and then firefighter last. Yeah.
Oh, good for
Yeah.
you. Good for you. And so you said that your mother is the last
Correct.
person in your inner circle that doesn't know. And Michele, is there anyone in your inner circle that doesn't know?
No, well, possibly some of my husband's family. But in my immediate circle, no, everybody knows, and everybody loves it.
Yeah.
It's been for the immediate. It's now like, it's been so great. I want it for more, if more people would be interested, that's where I'm like, my target would be like to go out further, because it has been so like just my immediate circle. But my immediate circle is, they love it. It's been life-changing for them. So I'm very fortunate in that way. And I hope that someday you could tell all your family too. It's nice to be able to share that, you know.
Yeah, I did come out to my in-laws when they were here. My mother-in-law was having stomach issues, and I thought, oh, I could do Reiki on her. How am I going to present this? And again, so I started with, do you trust me? Because at first, I think you have to establish whether that person feels they can trust you or not, and that's just across the board. It doesn't. I don't think has to be in any situation. And she did, and I said, would you mind laying down and let me help you with your pain? And I did, and it took her pain away, and it was wonderful. So, also coming out on social media, I never had social media before. So that was a big to do for me to put myself out there on social media. And I friended my sister-in-law. And then it was like, oh, she's friends with everybody in our family, extended family and beyond. And then you start getting friend requests and thought, oh, everybody knows now. So it was interesting, but the way it unfolded was okay. Everybody seemed to, oh, she does Reiki. Okay, let's be friends. And, it was great.
Wow. I love the fact that you brought the social media in, because both of you are really putting yourselves out there more and more. And, some might ask, why on earth are you doing that? But, you know, speaking from my own personal experience, and then please chime in. Um, for me, it's been a journey as well, but there's a push, I think, for me to serve, to help, right? And this it's almost like a drive to help more and to be out there more. Is it the same for you? Is that what you're doing? Do you feel like you're answering a call when you're opening up and sharing this with more people?
Definitely. Putting yourself out there is like accountability, I feel. But I will say it was really hard. I guess I do I've never put a picture of myself out there, of just me, and this is me, and I do Reiki. I've always had my family, either with my mom or my kids or my husband or my dog, but never just Michele out there doing Reiki. And to do that was really challenging. I think that was actually the hardest thing, was, you know, making that leap on my own. This has been the first thing that has been for me, to really vest into myself and put myself out there without hiding kind of behind my family. And it's been a journey, and I feel it's been very empowering also, because I feel like the young generation, they're selfies all the time, and look at me. I just feel like, for me personally, I have my people, and you feel safe in your little bubble of your people, but to stand in your own truth, I feel like that's what it is. Reiki has been truth for me. I've kind of been a people pleaser my whole life. And I knew that Reiki wasn't going to be pleasing for everybody. That, in my opinion, people have opinions about what it is or what it's not. And I felt like there was, once Reiki was on, and I knew what it was and what it had done for me and changed in me, I had to put it out there. And I hope that other people will, be brave too, whatever their truth is. I feel like the part of me has been so quiet, my whole life, just go along to get along, don't rock the boat. That's me. I want everyone to get along. I want, rainbows and sunshine. And that's not always the case. And that's not where we grow. So it was hard. It was hard to, like I said, what I was trying to say earlier is, I wasn't ready for that then. 25 years ago. It probably it could have happened then, but it needed to be now. turned 50 this year. And I felt like, you know what, I can speak my truth now. I'm an adult and I can do this. And it really helped me. It empowered me. Sound healing was a huge part of my journey also before the Reiki. It just kind of broke me open. It just, something happened at one of my sound healing meditations. And then came the Reiki, but the Reiki came slowly. My girls were going through distance Reiki sessions during COVID, and they're the ones that even told me what it was. I had no idea what Reiki was. And before you know it, a little book shows up at the house, what Reiki is, and crystals start showing up. And for Christmas presents, we all get, little things and all the different modalities. And it was really my girls that introduced me, and it really got them through some hard times. And Mom, you should really try it, or you should take a class. And I do live in an area that there is a lot of it around. And I'm very lucky that I had some options, and I tried 3 different practitioners, one that happened to be right down the street from me, which is crazy. It was like she did it in her home, and it was magical. And she was somebody that, I learned so much from. I didn't end up taking class from her, but great resource. And the things that she told me, like you, Tammy, empowered me. She's the one that immediately was like, you're psychic, you're an empath, all these things. And she told me things that there was no way she could have known. It was such an intuitive experience. And it's been quite a journey. And really the only people that don't know are maybe my husband's family, but I did put it on Facebook. So I know they saw it. They didn't comment on it, but they didn't attack me. So that's a win.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people did come out and say, wow, I had no idea. And I guess that's what I was, like I said, my main group of people, they know. But there is an extended group of people that live in the community. Now they know. And I have gotten some new clients, and it's been nice. And just being able to be authentic, because I've been literally hiding a huge part of myself. And we don't have to be ashamed. We don't have to, I want to, that's the call for me, is like, I feel like I've been hiding a huge part of myself. And I don't want to do that. And I don't want anyone to do that. I'm not going to push it on anyone. If they don't want to hear it, like you said, have discernment. And I did learn that the hard way too. I'm not going to lie. in the beginning of my Reiki bliss, that initial period after, being my first 2 attunements, I was on such a high. Like the only time I've ever felt like that in my life is when I first fell in love with my husband. And it was like, I, just was beaming Reiki. I could talk about it 24/7, and I wanted to, and not everybody wanted to hear it. And I had one person basically say, good for you, but I don't need to hear anymore, and so, and that's okay. And that was her right too, cause it's not for everybody, but she followed my page, and she likes my pictures, and, she's supportive of me. So it's good.
So, Michele, I have to ask, what was it that got your husband on board? Can you share that?
Yes. So over the years, we definitely, I would say, started meditating together, and he's very holistic. That's his whole thing. He, no doctors really. I feel like that's definitely up his alley, like holistic health. Really no doctors, unless there's a broken bone involved, really no doctors. And that's kind of how we raised the kids and everything. So over the years, he had a few health concerns, and really trusted himself and healed himself. From serious stuff to even needing surgery, he really had the awareness that he could heal himself, and he did heal himself. He didn't have surgery, which they told him he had a torn rotator cuff. He healed it. High blood pressure, scary high blood pressure. He did everything holistically, healed it. So I feel like we were already on a natural healing, holistic lifestyle together. Even our 3rd child, many years later, I had a natural delivery, all, based on kind of like what we were now, this new couple together. I would say, like, we really went down a more holistic lifestyle. So, we started going to some sound healing classes together and meditations, and he had seen some of the, healing effects that it had on me. So during COVID, I'm positive, like a gallbladder disease or something. I was in severe, severe pain to the point where I really couldn't eat or sleep. I was in excruciating pain. And during some of the meditations, I really focused on healing. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt I was being healed. And it was a miracle. And I felt and saw like my healing of my body. It was incredible. Um, and I was healed after that. And it was unbelievable. And my husband witnessed that. And it was a miracle. And we kind of stayed on that, understanding that we had the power to heal. There were so many things that happened during COVID that led us to be open to trying new modalities. We already realized that the meditation was a huge staple in our life together, and the sound healing and nature and just being in lockdown. We really were going in, kept going in, going in. And then the Reiki came across with my girls that were so, instrumental in bringing that to us. And so when I did book a Reiki appointment, when I came home, he saw just the transformation after one. I mean, it was almost like I was looking through blurry glasses, and it just kind of like cleaned the lens. And it was like everything was brighter and crisper and just happy and joyful in such an uncertain time. And I feel like he was like, oh, you really should look into this. And, maybe it's something you can do, because I was home and, it was the perfect, time to try something new. And I wasn't, I had done hair for 20 years and I had a home business and it was great. And I thought, oh, maybe I've been looking for something, and it just kind of came to me. So then I went to a couple other practitioners, and it just really overnight was just something had changed. It was like a little switch went off. It was, or turned on, I guess. Maybe it was like dim, and now it's like, oh, I felt light. I felt lighter, and brighter. And I think I immediately just made the decision to take the class. And of course, he was the lucky one that, I couldn't wait to get my hands, on him, because it was just us and my younger daughter at the time living here quarantined together. And I mean, he was getting daily treatments. And I mean, the sleep was
Wow.
better. Everything seemed to like, he felt that, I mean, I don't know if Reiki every day I was doing like hour and a half sessions, because it was magical.
Wow.
When you're giving Reiki, you feel that as well. And then knowing that he was, receiving it. And I feel it was just really bonded us in a different way, and usually he'd fall asleep, which I
Yeah.
guess that, instantly put him to sleep. I wish I could have gotten sleep like that during that time. But yeah, so
Yeah.
he was very supportive and continues to be, he's always telling people all the time, what I do, which is so cool because, sometimes it is kind of different and woo woo, but he likes it. He likes the woo woo me. So it's good
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me that his his holistic approach probably really helped lay a foundation.
for all of us,
Uh
for my whole family.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that to be open,
Hmm.
or I would say maybe unconventional in approaches. And then, we don't often say this with Reiki, seeing is believing, but I think in this case, that's true because he saw the difference in you that treatment made.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Definitely, definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
it's helped on so many levels with anxiety, but it's like the physical, like so physical pain. I mean, like you said, you were able to help Tammy people right there on the spot. They could experience what it was, but it's like the magic behind the scenes going on, months later, some of the transformations that you see in people that it's just so, it's ever so slight, but it's happening. But, it's because now I feel like my husband is very lucky. He has healthy, he's and all that, but he'll still ask for Reiki. It's not like he's trying to, fix his shoulder, any of these, but he knows he feels better. So, Reiki does no
Yeah.
harm. So it's,
Yeah. Well, and yeah, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. I mean, we can't even really fathom, I think, all the different ways that we can be helped and magical. I love the fact that typically I don't like to put out there magical and Reiki together because I think, I have a little bit more of a grounded approach, but who are we kidding? It is magical. on so many levels, so many reasons, so many ways. But wow, that's amazing that he is so on board, such a support system for you. Which reminds me, Tammy, I mean, your husband sounds very supportive of you. I mean, he, you know, encouraging you to go talk to that woman, the paramedic, and all of that. What a blessing that must be
He
for
is.
you.
He's amazing. Well, he's a firefighter also, so he understood where I was, where she was, but he knew the Reiki aspect, and he knew I had a fear because we're afraid of being judged in a way that wouldn't be
Right.
palatable for us, So he just giving me that nod, like, go ahead, you can do this, you've got this. You need to put yourself out there. You need to tell people about Reiki, and she needs to help. It was, it worked hand in hand at that one moment. So I think if he didn't give me that
Right.
head nod to just go ahead, do it, I don't know if I would have. I might have stayed on the fence too long and lost my opportunity because my window was very small right there. But I did, and he is absolutely 1,000% supportive, and I wouldn't have been able to come this far without him, honestly. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm lucky in that regard too. I think we're all really blessed to have partners in our life that really do cheer us on and support us. Not a lot of, well, I won't say not a lot, but there are many, many, many people out there that I know that don't have that and lack community and the ability to connect with other people like them, which is so important. Hello, it's Andrea, and in addition to being your host here at the podcast, I'm the founder of Mainstream Reiki, where bringing Reiki further into the mainstream is my mission. I offer quality Reiki classes of all levels to students attending live from around the world. And I've built a membership community as well to help Reiki people connect with each other through discussions, events, and Reiki practice. So if you're considering learning Reiki or you already have, I invite you to visit mainstreamreiki.com to discover your next step in your Reiki journey. Thank you. And now back to the show. So Tammy, you had mentioned social media and, you know, you're a bit more reserved, you're a bit more quiet and hesitant, as you just said, like in that moment. So how was it, with a Reiki business, if people don't know that you're offering sessions, it's kind of crickets, right? So we have to put ourselves out there to be known, to be seen. And can you talk a little bit about what that was like for
Yeah,
you?
so I didn't even have a social media account for my personal life ever. I never had Facebook or Instagram, nothing. So my first social media was my business. And it was interesting that Michelle had said she put a picture of her dog. She would, put something else, but not her. And I was the same way for my profile picture. I had a flower. It was a lovely flower, but it was not my face. And I kept thinking, okay, I want to put this out there. I want to help people, but I don't want to put my face connected to the social media. So that was really hard. But after having social media for about a year, I thought, you really have to put yourself out there. You have to put your face connected to your account. People need to see who you are. And I think that's really important. I've been to websites where you don't know who you're looking at. There is no picture, and then you can't relate to that person. And I would leave the website. So I thought, well, if somebody's coming to my website or to my social media and they're even interested in Reiki and they don't see my face, they can't relate to me. They can't relate to what I offer. So I thought, well, they're not going to stay for me to help them. So I thought it was really important to do that. But in doing so, it really put me out of my box. There was a lot of fear in doing that.
Yeah. I can imagine that too, because you put things out and you have no control then what happens,
Correct.
right? You don't know who's looking at your stuff. You don't know what they're thinking, what they're judging, who they're telling, who they're showing. You don't know any of that. And that can be really hard.
Yes, absolutely. Again, it's that fear of being judged. What are people going to think? Are they going to be cruel? Are they going to be nice? You don't know, but yeah. But as I've come to know, you have to be on social media. That's how people find you. We don't have yellow pages anymore, or things like that. We have community connections, but those are done on social media now. Whereas maybe, 20, 30 years ago, you would have done them in person. So it's important.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is important. And I I know for myself, it's that's been a journey. I can remember when I very first started the Mainstream Reiki Facebook page and I had like 61 likes or something. And then my like count would go down one. And I'd be like, oh no, what did I do? Somebody liked the page and then they unliked it. And I mean, wow, right? But what I can tell you is it gets easier and easier and easier. But there are so many challenges all along the way because, you get that first comment that isn't nice
Mm.
or something else like that. And so it's something always, it's next leveling you, I would say. First it's the change the flower to your face, the profile. And it's like, oh, okay, I did that. Check that off the box. Okay, then I'm going to share this about myself. And then you check that. But good for you because every little step that you take, you get further and further. And, boundaries. We as practitioners, we talk a lot about boundaries, don't we? Like energetic boundaries and, you've got to maintain your healthy boundaries, and all of that talk. And that's very difficult when you put yourself out there. It is a test to your boundaries and your ability to be in balance and hold your peace and all of that like never before. And so I just have to say congratulations. And also the wisdom there that you shared. We're asking these clients to really be vulnerable, to come to us, open up their energy, and receive something they might not understand very much. And so to just have your photo out there, that can make such a difference because we're asking them, share who you are. Well, we need to share who we are too. So the fact that you connected those dots and you have that's amazing. Because I think they do need to feel more comfortable, but it doesn't make it easy for sure. Yeah. And Michele, your social media, you're sharing more yourself,
I
correct?
am. I still have Michele Yorke, which I've had forever. And
Yeah.
then I have my Sacred Sound Reiki, which I did put a picture and I came out about 2 months ago. It's been very recent. And there was a whole thing
Yeah.
behind that too. I mean, I kind of had this feeling, okay, I'm going to come out on this day. My daughter had helped me with my website and I was getting it all ready. I was stalling. I was definitely like looking back, I was stalling. It's scary to put it out there and who's going to see it? Like you said, who's going to judge it? Who's going to laugh at me? And I know, you know, it doesn't matter. It's like, I felt like I needed to do it. Like I knew I needed to step into it no matter what. But the week of, it was crazy. Like all these little technical things started happening. The morning of, it did not come out the way I wanted. After I posted it, my mom saw a typo. She's the first person to tell me, that's spelled wrong. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was able to switch it on one, but not the other. And it's like, you know what? It's not perfect. I'm leaving it. I already saw there was too many people that liked it. And if I take it down, so I had to just trust that this is the way it was supposed to be. It's not perfect, but here it is. And you know what? I actually got a good amount of positive feedback and from people I was not expecting. And that was another good lesson for me is we think we know certain people are going to react or respond. And that wasn't always the case. And that was, me being sensitive or me, assuming somebody had this belief or that. And I think it was like kind of giving an opportunity to be surprised. And, maybe people don't have that strong of opinion. And that was good to see too, because I needed to like be open that, maybe I'm wrong, about how I think they're going to perceive it. And of course, I was right about some things about it, but for the most part, it was an opportunity for, some surprises in it. And it actually was okay. But I do notice, Tammy, the more I share, like even my Reiki room, little videos or whatever, people love that. I get so many people after seeing what it looks like. Oh, it's not scary. Oh, I have my clothes on. I think a lot of people thought it's like a massage and it was maybe, something like, more, vulnerable, I guess. And it's not. You can do sitting, you can do laying, I can come to you, we can do distance. There's many ways, and the benefits are all amazing. So I think the more we share about what it actually is, it takes away the mystery a little bit. And I've actually been reunited with some friends that had no idea that I did this, and it's been good. Overall, it's been really good. Once I let go of my expectations of what it was or wasn't going to be, so it's been good. But I still need to keep going.
Oh,
I need to
yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're never done. That's for sure. But you're very, very right on social media when we show uh the reels or whatever it is with hand placements or the room or sharing techniques. That is what really is popular. That demystifying, like you were saying. Um, I also wanted to touch in about your own healing, because I think that a lot of us, what I'm getting a lot of lately, in my own awareness, is that right now on the planet, we're all going through this huge up level, right? This transformation, ascension, whatever you want to call it. And people like you two feel a call to help. They feel a guidance out there, right? To serve, to help, to do what they can to bring more light, more love into the world, more healing, just to be helpful. Is that fair to
Mm-hmm.
say?
Yes.
Um, and so what I want to point out is this is the call. And this is one reason why I wanted to have you here on the show, to let other people know you can do this. It's okay. Now's the time. The world needs you. And so if you're feeling the push, if you're feeling guided to take that Reiki class or another sort of modality to help people, to help bring more light in, to ease the suffering, to bring more peace, please listen to the guidance, follow the guidance. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to have all the acceptance of everybody around you, but please listen and honor yourself. Move ahead. And what about, though, this is where I was really trying to get to in my long circling, winding path there. What about your own healing, though, to get to this point? You know, I, I we might hear terms like wounded healer, or there can be a sense that if we're doing healing work in today's world, we probably have a history, maybe in past lives, of doing healing work or some sort of work where we were trying to be helpful and we were persecuted, we were hurt, we were shunned, ostracized for this kind of thing. And so, if you don't mind getting a little bit personal for a moment, have you found that that sort of history, that sort of perhaps even cellular memory or energetic imprint, has that held you back at all? Has that been something in your shadow that you've had to heal or confront or not? What can you talk about that, Tammy, at all?
For me, healing has been on such a level, not only from my current life, but from past life. Things have come up, but it didn't start until that Reiki journey started for me. I realized I had to clear so much from this lifetime. And I'll give you an example. My husband and daughter were in a terrible, terrible car wreck in 2015. And I didn't go that day. he had just gotten a car about 4 days before. And I sat in the front seat of the car and the seat was up too high. I said, you know what? I don't like this. God, if you ever got in a car wreck. So I moved the seat all the way back as far as I could. I never was in the car again. A few days later, 2 days later, they were in the car wreck. Thank God I moved that chair back because my daughter's legs were crushed. So I had
Oh,
such guilt over I didn't go that day. I thought I should have, I was the one who was supposed to be sitting in the front seat, not her. And I didn't realize how many years I kept that guilt with me, that I should have been the one, not her. So when I was in a Reiki session with my Reiki practitioner, I had such a huge release and I didn't even realize I was still holding on to that at the time. So for me, that was so much for me to let go and heal from that in order to move forward with a lot of other things in life. Things from my childhood, my past. You don't realize how much we all hold on to. And not everybody has the same level of trauma, but we all hold on to things. Maybe somebody hurt our feelings and we held on to that, and that stopped us from doing this, that, or the other thing. So I think I really paint that with a broad brush when we say trauma or things that we hold on to. But Reiki helped me release so much that really wasn't serving me um, in this lifetime or going forward, really. But I also had some things from past life that came up for me that I didn't even know about past lives at that point. I thought, well, what is this? And through meditation and journeying and working with a medium, I was able to pinpoint those lifetimes and the things that were happening. And a lot of them had to do with my voice and fear and things like that, which I deal with today because I'm afraid to come out and tell somebody about Reiki. I'm afraid to do that. So really, Reiki has just opened up that door for me to let a lot of things go. And I think, we can all help people, whether it be through Reiki. Some people help people just lending an ear and listening and having a conversation, or being able to relate to you with your story and their story, and it matches up and you said, hey, we can talk about this. So I think those things are really important.
yeah. And it's still a journey, right? We don't have to be perfect in order to help other people. It's
Hmm.
okay that, we're still working
For
on
sure.
things. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Michelle, I'll push it over to you. Anything like that come up for you?
Yes, definitely a lot of shadow work healing going on with the Reiki, bringing different things into my awareness, um, being able to see from an observer point of view the situation a little more clearly. Um, I'm actually right now going through uh, my brother's pretty ill right now, and we have had a very strained relationship in my adult life. I really haven't had much of a relationship, and Reiki has really been amazing. I've been able to uh, put it all aside, and it's empowered me to be there in ways that I would not have been able to do, and even be in his presence. And it's been amazing. I honestly can say Reiki has held my hand through the whole thing. It's been so beautiful. Um, yeah, it's in that, and actually Reiki came to me right about the time that we got into the biggest ridiculous fight of our life after my dad passed, and things went down crazy. That happens, and I get it now, and I know it was
Mhm.
just fear for him, but he took it out and he lashed out, and I vowed I would never speak to him again, and it was a whole thing. And to go and give Reiki to friends and family and even strangers, but if I couldn't give it to my brother, if I couldn't offer Reiki to my own sibling that I love, I needed to walk through that door, and it was very hard, and grounding before, and it's been a journey, but it's been the best thing ever. And I'm so thankful for Reiki to be able to help heal that part of me, the wounded part of me, the little girl that can point out all the times he was mean to me and what he did, and, all the things. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is all that matters, is right now in the present moment. And that's what it's done for me. It's brought me right here, right now. I can't claim to be a Reiki master if I can't help the ones that need it. If somebody needs it, I'm there, and he needs it and he asks for it. Is she coming over today? Can she come? Absolutely. I'm there. And, I wouldn't have been there 4 years ago, 3 years ago, if I hadn't had the healing that's happened over the last few years. So I'm so grateful for Reiki. And yeah, it's been amazing. Definitely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful story. Um, wow. So, as we're wrapping up today, I'm wondering if anything else comes to mind. Um, you all have been on separate journeys toward offering Reiki to whoever needs it, but you've had some unique challenges given location, conservativeness, family, different things. But I think that you have a lot in common as far as what those challenges have been. And I'll bet a lot in common with those listeners who find themselves, also wanting to do more, but perhaps, having some resistance, some internal resistance. Um, do you have any advice, I guess, is what I would ask you. Tammy, for those listening who, can relate to what you have shared today, given that you're in the driver's seat of this experience that you've had, what could you tell them? Do you have any words of advice for
I
them?
think the risk is worth the reward. I realize sometimes we're so afraid of being judged that it really does stop us from doing wonderful things and helping people. And in reality, if we think about it, I think we judge ourselves worse than anybody else could judge us. I mean, if I think about it, I think I probably tell myself more judgy things than anybody's ever said to me, but I just assume that that's going to happen. I think that's just a society that we live in. But my advice to anyone would be, if they're inclined to take Reiki, take it for yourself. You don't have to be a practitioner. You don't have to open up a store and a website. You can just help yourself. You can help your dog, your cat, family, friend, your neighbor, somebody elderly down the street. You don't have to be the superhero that wears a cape. You could be your superhero in your own right by just going and helping people. But most importantly, helping yourself. And that would be my advice to somebody. Don't be afraid.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Michele, do you have some words you'd like to share?
Perfectly said, Tammy. I was going to say the same thing. If you're inclined to take a class, that's the perfect place because, the Reiki, just with your self healing, the daily practices, I guess, yes, it really has been life changing to have that daily practice. And it has been so empowering to be authentic. It's allowed me to be authentic for the first time, I feel like, in my life. Little fragments, but then this has really just grounded me into it. Still a huge work in progress, but take a class, try something new, whether it's sound healing, Reiki, any modality, try something outside of the norm. And it's amazing what could come of it. It's been quite a journey, and I'm excited about what's to come. And like I've said, I can never be bored. This has just
Yeah.
opened up a world that I want to participate in. It's like school for me was never anything I really was much interested in. And, I got through it and all that is fine. But it's like today, I can't wait to read a new book or, take a new class. It's like a whole new world has opened up because of Reiki, really. So go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing at a time, whether it's a class or um, offering someone
Mm-hmm.
Reiki who you think might be in need. And if you're already on the path, putting yourself out there a little bit more and a little bit more, if that's what you're guided to do. I think, for me, that's my advice. If we're all going to give a little advice, I guess that would be mine. And that is just do what feels in alignment with yourself. That what, what has your heart's attention? Where's your heart leading you? And if it's to perhaps take that first class, well, then do that. But if you've had so many different trainings, like I know both of you have had, and you've had that inkling to put yourself out there through it all, I would say we need you out there. We need you. And if you're guided to put yourself out there, just do that. Trust your training, trust the energy, trust the modality, trust that you'll be supported in every single way. And, the difficulties that come up, they're learning experiences, healing and growing experiences, right? And so that's kind of why we're here in life too. So nobody's got to be perfect, but I think I just want to invite everybody to, as Michele said, I love the word authentic. Be authentically who you are and take the next step that you're guided to take, whatever that is. I think we can't go wrong that way, I think. I would love to share you more with the audience if they would like to reach out to you both. I hope we can just cheer you on. And if you know any other Reiki practitioners or any other holistic practitioners that are offering good services out there and their heart's in the right place, we should support them more. We should reach out and, give them a word of encouragement out there on social media. I think the world needs this right now. But Tammy, you have a website. Is that correct?
Yes, it's www.luciolahealing.com.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. We will put that in the show notes. Easy link down there and also on YouTube in the video description. Beautiful. Can you spell that
it's
for us?
LUCCIOLA healing.com.
Nice. Thank you so much. And Michele, where can people connect with you?
I'm on Instagram at Sacred Sound Reiki, and I have a website, www.sacred-sound-reiki.com.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right. And Tammy, we know you're on social media. We can find that through your website.
That's Luciola Healing on Instagram also and Facebook.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for putting yourselves out there to do the show with me, because that might have been a little nerve-wracking, to come and talk like this with me. And I so appreciate it. So that's a wonderful thing that you did to come and share your stories. And I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for letting us put ourselves out there. Michele, you too. Thank you.
You too, Tammy. It was great. Thank you.
And from myself and the team here at Beyond the Reiki Gateway, we'd like to say thank you to our listeners for all of your support, including leaving great reviews, becoming BTRG insiders, and sharing the show with your friends and family. Drop us a line at info@beyondthereikigateway.com anytime. Tell us what's on your mind and take great care. Until next time. Thank you again for joining me. Please check the description underneath this video to learn more, connect with us, and get some important information about your listening experience. Wishing you all the best until we meet again beyond the Reiki Gateway.